Marvel fans, this is absolutely insane. Kevin Feige literally just said in an interview that every single Marvel movie after Deadpool and Wolverine will be the era of the mutants coming into the MCU. And on top of that, Kevin Feige, Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, and Hugh Jackman have all been playing it super weird in the interviews leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine when they are asked about Avengers vs X-Men and like the X-Men stuff. But you see, even though this is super cool, a lot of fans have questions. Like, how are we ever going to do Avengers vs X-Men when there's no X-Men in the MCU currently? And what is an X-Men or a Mutant Saga going to even look like if we're doing Secret Wars in the next couple of years? And I've obviously been paying super close attention to this. I've been following all the rumors, all the reports, all the leaks, everything I can get my hands on. And so in this video, I want to take you through how I think this is actually going to work. And although this is technically speculation, just hear me out on what I talk about in this video and watch as Marvel Studios replicates a lot of it. I'm feeling pretty confident about this one, man. And also, not to brag, but I'm really good at predicting this shit. Okay, so let me take you through how this is going to work. And the first thing that you got to know that's really important is it's going to be set up in Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I'm like super excited for that movie. Oh my God, man, Wolverine, Deadpool cutting people up at R rating, woo! But besides that, this movie's also said to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in explaining what's going to be happening in the Multiverse Saga in the next couple of years. Again, it's no coincidence that Kevin is saying that the era of the X-Men begins on the day Deadpool and Wolverine comes out. And I think that movie is going to explain some stuff about the mutants and the X-Men. Number one, why there aren't any X-Men in the 616. And I predict it has to do with somebody designing it that way, creating a timeline in which there were no mutants or the emergence of the mutants would be delayed. But of course, we also know mutants are slowly starting to pop up in the 616 as well. You've got Kamala Khan, you've got Namor. And so Marvel's plan is to essentially begin to explain X-Men out in the multiverse via Deadpool and Wolverine, while also having mutants pop up in the 616 universe. And I think the link between both of those things is going to be that everybody hates the mutants. Like, maybe it'll be the TVA, maybe it'll be the Kangs, but I kind of feel like they're going to say, you know why 616 doesn't have X-Men? Because we hate you guys. You guys suck. You're always time traveling and screwing everything up. And Kang himself has absolutely hilarious mutant disrespect in the comics. Like, at one point, he's even talking to some mutant, I forget who it was, but he's basically saying, you know why I don't mess with you guys? Because you literally lose every single time. I've seen the end of time. You guys always fuck it up. So I don't even have to worry about y'all. Get out of my face. But okay, that's kind of like what's been going on in 616 so far, what they're going to do in this freaking Deadpool and Wolverine movie. And I mean, I guess when you think about the Monica scene at the end of the Marvels and you think about Multiverse of Madness, they are setting up a lot of mutants and X-Men in the multiverse while slowly introducing them in 616 as well. And Deadpool and Wolverine's really going to crack that open. Maybe explain why there's no mutants. Maybe explain that everybody hates the mutants and explain why the mutants are really a threat to Secret Wars, Battle World, or something like that. But then I think you will get mutants in a lot of the MCU 616 movies. Like, let's talk about Captain America Brave New World. Now, the original version of this movie did not really include mutants or X-Men, but that's because it was supposed to come out years ago. And with Kevin saying that now we're in the era of the mutants and X-Men entering the MCU, I really do think that given all of the extensive reshoots they've done to Captain America Brave New World, it's very likely they will be putting some mutants into that film. Like, at the very least, they're going to introduce the idea of mutants as great candidates for super soldier programs like the Weapon X program or the Weapon Plus program. And I mean, Giancarlo Esposito is rumored to be playing G.W. Bridge, who's very connected to the Weapon Plus and Weapon X program. And also Tiamat Island, the friggin' celestial that's coming out of the ocean. Yeah, that thing is apparently where we're going to get adamantium. So again, that just builds beautifully to governments around the world knowing about mutants, trying to find them to make them weapons. And at this time of very fragile, crazy instability out there in the government situation, I'm trying to sound like I know about politics and global affairs? I mean, dude, maybe they'll even put some kind of mutants in there that do something crazy that get governments to be like, whoa, because again, I think you need fear of the mutants to kind of establish this just multiverse-wide condition for mutants and the X-Men. Now, maybe this will be in Thunderbolts as well. I mean, Thunderbolts is really supposed to focus around the creation of Sentry, who is not a mutant in the comics, and I don't think will be a mutant in that movie. But I think because it's going to connect to the government, it's going to connect to super soldiers, there will be some kind of reference to like finding mutants, gathering them, and using them. Maybe they could just link it to the fact that the Thunderbolts was formed because there are mutants around the world and we want to protect ourselves from the mutants. Maybe we'll even see the creation of Sentries or something like that. And one of the big reasons I think Captain America and Thunderbolts will connect to the mutants is because we're apparently getting a show with Giancarlo Esposito. This is something he teased out at a Comic-Con. And if he really is GW Bridge, there's only a couple of different ways that show could go. And a lot of people think it just makes sense to do Weapon X or Weapon Plus. And I personally believe that the story element that will link what's going on with all of this creating mutant stuff and government stuff on 616 with the wider multiversal perspective here will have to do with fear of the mutants. Because what they're looking for is basically when Avengers vs X-Men happens, if it happens the way we think it will, and X-Men from that universe where Monica Rambeau is now with Beast and Binary and Charles, that universe will see 616 and see the same fear of mutants, the same persecution that they see in all of these other universes, and they'll view that universe and the Avengers as a threat. Now, it's important to talk about like how I see Avengers vs X-Men going down for this to all make sense, but I think you kind of understand now how they could build it up in the multiverse and then in our own universe in a way that will kind of line up. And I really do think that Beast and friggin' Charles and the Monica Rambeau and Binary, they are all going to represent the X-Men universe that will come into conflict with the 616, because that post-credit scene in the Marvels is like the perfect setup for that. At one time, I thought, well, that might also be Deadpool's universe. Maybe that's where Deadpool and Wolverine are going to end up at the end of the Deadpool movie. And I think that is still possible, but Marvel technically doesn't have to do that because I believe they really want Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and some of the other OG Avengers to be in this Avengers vs X-Men movie. And in order to do that, particularly with Iron Man, you need to grab up a variant. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain what I think is going to happen. So you've got this X-Men universe. Let's call it 10005. And then you've got the 616, okay? Now, they have to fight each other. Now, there's a couple of different ways this could go down. I think the first and most obvious way is that you would have an incursion. This is very similar to what happened in the Jonathan Hickman comic books leading up to his Secret Wars. You essentially have this massive rift formed between the two Earths as they sort of collided towards each other, and then all of the armies and X-Men and all of the Avengers would be able to fly through that rift and see each other, attack each other, scout the other world. That could be really cool. But the other option here is that you would have something like that maybe start to happen, but then Kang or the Beyonder Kang would destroy Eternity, which would destroy the space between all universes. So then there's just one universe. So then you have that X-Men universe and you have the Avengers universe, and they're both just there looking at each other, but maybe no actual incursion. Either way, you will get to a point where you have the Avengers universe and the X-Men universe with no barrier between them, because in order to get them to fight, that's what you're looking at. It really does seem like we would do a multiversal version of Avengers vs X-Men. And that sounds really cool. And it would give Marvel the ability to have some of the characters in 616 that they're setting up as mutants maybe even turn sides to the X-Men universe. Because that's always a really cool thing with these superhero fights where, you know, heroes are fighting heroes. It's like, who's going to turn sides? I also think you might have a scenario in which the fight between the X-Men and the Avengers has multiversal ramifications. So maybe like other Avengers universes will also be destroyed if this Avengers one falls, because that could create the catalyst for characters like an Iron Man, Tony Stark variant coming in to help the 616 Avengers, because he's like, look, I don't even like y'all, but I'm here because if you guys lose against those X-Men, my universe is destroyed, and we're not having that. But guys, it actually gets even crazier than that, because I believe then you're gonna have a scenario where some of the X-Men and the Avengers work together to defeat either Kang, the Beyonder, or Doctor Doom to free us all so that, you know, Secret Wars is over and the heroes win. And I think from there, you're gonna get a universe that takes that Fox X-Men universe and the 616 universe and smashes them together so they're basically the same. And I believe you will have a scenario in which a lot of the stuff that was going on in the 616, like building up these Weapon Plus, Weapon X programs, it'll have happened, but you'll also already have the X-Men established, or maybe they're kind of different. I'm not 100% sure, but I really do believe that that's a big part of this plan as well. Like, Kevin has this plan to basically have events happen in the 616, events be established in these other Fox universes, and then you sort of smash them together and you create a status quo that's similar to what was going on with 616, where the Weapon Plus program's being developed, all of these different things are happening. Maybe there's just more because the Fox stuff is now canon as well, so there's like always been an X-Men team or something. Admittedly, this is the part that's kind of more difficult to figure out, but I believe what they're going to try to accomplish is a scenario in which you could kind of see all of this stuff happening in the same universe. It's almost like they're going to take Sony's strategy of just trying to imply that it's both the same, and then post Secret Wars, they'll just kind of, you know, rough edge, take away the rough edges. So what this would allow is the building up of the Fox X-Men via the multiverse, building up of the MCU mutants and 616 at the same time, having them come into conflict with each other via some crazy multiversal shenanigans, then having them all have to work together to be heroic and defeat whoever the villain of Secret Wars is, and then having the X-Men smash together with 616 and doing an entire Mutant Saga as we get to status quo and a bunch of people fear the mutants. And I think when we do get this new Mutant Saga post Secret Wars, you're going to have X-Men doing their thing, you know, trying to recruit more or save other mutants that are being persecuted by maybe the systems and programs that are established in the 616 prior to Secret Wars. I think they're also going to build up a cosmic level threat or some kind of conflict due to the X-Men essentially also being deviants or connected to the Celestials in some crazy way. Because we've heard a lot of rumors about Eternals 2 being Judgment Day and having the mutants build to some cosmic revelation in the Mutant Saga. In fact, they might not even make another Eternals movie, but they might use the Eternals and the Celestials in the mutant or X-Men movies as they continue to build that up. And all of that sounds pretty freaking cool to me. Again, this is speculation, but it's speculation based on a lot of the rumors and the reports and just knowing how Marvel Studios tends to treat stories like this. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Like, for sure, want to know what you guys are thinking. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.